Are you doing the recording?
Yeah, but can you do it too, just for backup?
Got it.
Okay, so hopefully we're live now. I just hit live. I can look and see if we're getting some folks. People are starting to come into the virtual auditorium, as I like to call it. So we'll give it just a few minutes for people to kind of come in, and then we'll get started. Welcome, people. If you're here for the Blackmagic Fairlight overview for the EGA, then you're in the right spot. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. And Mary has assured me that she's got a solid hour of useful information for you. So we're probably going to get started pretty quickly. I'll give it just another minute. Okay, it looks like we're kind of settling down in terms of people coming in. So we'll go ahead and get started. I think somebody's already put a chat up.
Oh,
yeah, great. That's Justice from Germany. So he says, great to be here. Great to have you here, Justice. So we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Chris Fettner. I'm the Managing Director of the Entertainment Globalization Association. We are a trade association here in California, focused on the entertainment localization sector. That's subtitling, audio description, audio localization, sometimes referred to as dubbing, and sort of all of the different things that go along with that industry. We're primarily focused on building standards, educating, and advocating for the industry. And so part of that is to educate our own members on new things. And Blackmagic is a sponsor of the EGA. We're really proud to have them as a sponsor. They make, in my opinion, some really great gear. And they're just a really innovative company that is unlocking creativity and democratizing it by offering great solutions at a very reasonable price. So that's my little plug. I'm actually a Resolve user myself. So I think it's just a great product. And I think the addition of Fairlight to that overall ecosystem is just incredible and offers some great opportunities for localization companies. So with that, I want to hand it off to Mary Plummer. Mary is as it says, a workflow specialist for Fairlight and the Resolve product in general. Mary is part of the Blackmagic Design curriculum development team, as well as a Fairlight specialist. She is a professional video editor, sound editor, audio artist, and composer with over 20 years of experience in video and film production. She has worked on a wide range of productions from coast to coast, including shorts, PSAs, trailers, music videos, documentaries, independent feature films. Between projects, she has been a trainer and a presenter at major industry events, not this year, unfortunately, and trade shows, and written over a dozen industry training books, including the Fairlight Audio Guide to DaVinci Resolve 17, which will be released later this month, as I think as a free download on the Blackmagic site.
That's right.
So, and we just were talking ahead of this, and it turns out Mary actually gave me a class like 20 years ago. So it turns out that we have a long connection. But anyways, with that, I'll turn it over to Mary. Mary, thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to learning about Fairlight.
Awesome. Good to be here. So, and it's I know this says a Fairlight overview, detailed look, but let me make my slides work here. But one of the things I just want to point out is, we have the Fairlight page. So for those of you who are wondering, is Fairlight, is it software? Is it hardware? What is it? It is part of DaVinci Resolve. So that's what I was going to point out next, if I could get my slides to work. you'll find out quickly. I'm pretty good with lots of software, know a lot of things about different software, but the slides always get me for some reason. Anyway, so DaVinci Resolve 17 is our latest version, which is available now. And the Fairlight is just one part of DaVinci Resolve. So I'm just going to show you really quickly. DaVinci Resolve is actually a full post-production solution. So this is software that instead of different applications that sort of commingle and interact, and you can export and import and that sort of thing, with DaVinci Resolve, it's all within one application. It's all inside and on your screen, and you can move and back and forth between the different workflows as you go when you're doing your post-production. So for example, this is a cut page where you can do editing, fast editing. This is our edit page, which is a full NLE. This is where you can edit feature films, documentaries, short films, whatever it is, traditional workflows, and some more advanced workflows as well. So some exciting things there. Let's look at, we also have our Fusion page, which is where you can do your 3D or any of your visual effects can be done here, from titling to, as you can see, much more extensive modeling. We also have our color page. A lot of people only know DaVinci Resolve as, oh yeah, you have that color thing, right? No, but we have a full color grading page as well. And that's obviously been used for many years. And this is where the name came from, DaVinci, in the software. And then of course the Fairlight pages, which is one of the newer additions. And this is where we have a full digital audio workstation right inside of DaVinci Resolve. So I just wanted to clarify, yes, you're working in audio, but you also have access to all that other stuff too, which is very useful when you're doing globalization or localizing your projects. Now, yes, you can use external hardware. We do have our desktop consoles and that you can hook up to your system if you want a different kind of controller. We have our full-size mixers. I've got a 2-bay sitting right here behind me that you can use to control the Fairlight page as well. Or you can just use mouse and keyboard, which is what I'll be using today. Now, in fact, today I have no external hardware whatsoever other than the microphone I'm using right here. So I'll be using it just out of the box on an iMac. Just, you know, not even an iMac Pro. It's like a 2017 iMac, nothing special. And I'll still be running this entire thing on it. So using Fairlight for localization, there's a lot we can do with just this DAW. And I know that Chris mentioned it was the DAW for localization of the future, right? Well, that's pretty true, actually. There's a lot you can do. There's dubbing and ADR. You can do retiming of your vocal cues after you've recorded them. You can record your audio description. You can do audio repair if there happens to be something that's got glitches in it or noise or anything like that. You can easily repair it. All of your sweetening and mixing you already know how to do. You can also do it here. And we have full Dolby ATMOS integration, as well as the ability to deliver and package your different mixes, stems, and everything that goes with them. So the full package could all be done here. And a lot of this can be done right on the Fairlight page. However, since this is DaVinci Resolve, it's important to know, well, yes, you can also use it for localization. When it comes to DaVinci Resolve, you're adding a lot of other things. So instead of just thinking about the DAW, you also have on our edit page the ability to do all of your subtitles and closed captioning, or just import them in and adjust them, or just change languages if you want. But you could do that right in DaVinci Resolve. You can also do scene detection in case you don't have all of the cuts. You just have a reference movie. You can actually put all those scene cuts in there for you to help you for your timing and things like that. You can do editing. Like I said, you can edit the entire show in here, your titles, your VFX, your color grading, finishing, and including your IMF packaging of both as high as, let's say, Dolby Atmos integration, or you could do Dolby Atmos plus Dolby Vision all in your IMF packaging right in DaVinci Resolve. So there's a lot you can do right here, and I'll be showing you some of those features. A lot of people ask, you know, well, what's the difference? Because I heard there's different versions of DaVinci Resolve, and there's a free version, which you can download right now. The free version will give you up to Ultra HD. You can still do collaborative workflows. In fact, you can do your closed captioning, your editing. You could do 90% of your work right there in the free version. So if you have, you know, people working at home, which who isn't, right? People working at home who may not need the full studio version. They just need to be able to do a lot of the work. They can get started right away. So that's that. And then the studio version is $295, and the studio version is also downloadable. Well, you could download either one, obviously. It is $295, but that will give you the Dolby Atmos integration, the Dolby Vision, and some of the higher end output, like I said, working in 8K or 12K, things like that. So that's the big difference. And like I said, you could start with the free version. And by the way, that's a one-time fee. The $295 is not something that you have to pay every year. There's no subscriptions or anything like that. It's just one time and you're done. All the updates come right to you. You could just download them whenever they're available. So, and one thing right now, they are running a special still that, you know, it doesn't happen very often, but there's still special that if you happen to buy DaVinci Resolve Studio, they throw in one of these. This is the speed editor, which is great for if you're doing editing, cutting on fast things. But even if you just want to use this on your lap as just a shuttle with it marking in and out points as you're setting up cues for closed captioning and things like that, it's actually very useful. So just letting you know, that's another option you have. So just throwing that out there, and let's get in there and actually look at the software, shall we? So I'm going to get out of these slides and let's actually go back to that for 1 second so I can hide it. And this is the DaVinci Resolve interface. But before that, I just want to go to my actual desktop for just a moment and show you, I have a couple things here I prepared for this project. Now, when it comes to globalization, or let's just say localizing your projects, the higher quality the higher quality audio or project or the different contents that you have to work with, the better, right? And I know a lot of people don't like to share, and a lot of times it's difficult because maybe all you have is a stereo mix and you have to work with that. Fine, if that's all you need, great. But you know, one of the things to start thinking about is, you know, why not have the highest quality when you do your localization? Why shouldn't everybody have a Dolby Atmos mix in every language, right? Why should it only be a few languages? So the idea is trying to take your assets and build them out so that it is something that everybody can enjoy, right? In all the different languages, all the different regions. And the tools that you need to do that are right here. So one of the things I have is, I have this folder here and I just wanted to show you what's in it. I'm going to be working for this demo with just a video clip and 3 ADM broadcast wave files. So I have English, French, and German, but I could do all the things I need to do with just English, right? And then we would have to, of course, do the dubbing and all the other work to get to those languages. But I'm going to show you a lot of the process along the way. But that's all I have. I'm not going to start with any sessions or anything like that. Don't need them. I'll show you how we can work around that. One other thing I have here that I'm going to show you is I have just a few additional files that I built ahead of time, which would be like the closed captioning and the subtitles, I mean, the closed caption subtitles, as well as some of the ADR cues. I'll show you those. And I also built this, which is just a pile of empty folders right now. But one of the things that's very helpful, obviously, if you're the one overseeing the localization of a project, is organizing your assets, right? Organizing, making sure everything goes where it belongs. So one of the things you can do when you're in DaVinci Resolve is you can actually build up these empty folders ahead of time, whatever organization you want. Now, in this case, I just made some stuff up for this demo, but you can take this folder structure, bring it right into an empty project, and it's already set up and ready to go. So it's organized. Now, why does it matter if you're the only one using it? Because you're not the only one using it, right? When you are going to be working on localization, chances are you're going to be sending out submixes and down mixes and different things to to fill out all the different elements, right? You have to do your dubbing, but you also have to do, there's the closed captioning, there's the audio description, and there's then putting everything back together in the mix. So being able to organize it is a big deal. So whatever structure you may choose, I will also show you how to do that as well. Just bring it in. So I'm just going to start with an empty brand new project because I think that's the easiest way to get started. So empty project, that's what's open right now. And this is what DaVinci Resolve looks like when it's empty, right? There's nothing here. We have all these different pages I've already mentioned, the media page. We have the cut page and the edit page. There's Fusion for doing our graphics, which you already saw, VFX. You saw a nice picture anyway. There's color here's the Fairlight page. We'll be getting back to this in a second, and then deliver, where you can deliver your project. But at any time you can jump back and forth, which is what we'll be looking at in just a minute. I'm going to start us out on the edit page because this is probably what some of you are familiar with. Any kind of editing software, you know, professional in LE, you're going to have something that has a timeline and some viewers and so on. So this is where we'll start. I'm going to actually reset my UI layout, because that way it'll be whatever the standard layout is. This is what it normally looks like when you open it up. And then from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in those empty folders. So I'm just going to jump over here, grab those folders and drop them right over here into my master bin list. And sorry, that's my dog, for some reason is here. So here's my master bin list. And so this is the folder structure that I just brought in, even though it was empty, and I can now use that to organize my project. Now, the next thing what I need is those original files. Now I could go through the trouble of trying to import them, or I could also just grab them and bring them in as well. So I'm just going to bring in the media, and I will drop it right into this bin, this original master files, and let it think for a minute. Now, with an empty project, it's going to look at whatever media you bring in, and the first things that come in, it'll help determine what that frame rate's going to be. And so I'll make sure to change it to make sure it matches. And here we go. I now have the video as well as the 3 Dolby Atmos master files. There they are, ADM broadcast wave files. So, and I brought that in very, very easily. Again, I'm just on my iMac. In fact, I'll show you. I'm just on my, come on, iMac, tell me about you. There we go, iMac Catalina. I think I'm behind, and nothing special here, no extra hardware or anything like that. Yet I was able to bring those into DaVinci Resolve Studio. So now that I've shown you that, here's my picture. And if you look, I've got my English version, and then I also have, sorry, my Zoom window's in the way. Let's look at these in list view. There we go. And in list view, you can see I've got my German version and French, and then there's my English version as well. So what we're going to do is I'm going to actually sync these and put them into a timeline. So I'm going to select the video clip, and I'm going to select the English audio, and I'll just create a brand new timeline using those elements. And I'll just call this English sync, because I'm basically bringing this into the edit page so that I can sync these together. And there they are. Now I can, why did it separate them? Because it wasn't sure the relationship of the 2 items. I'm just going to line up the video to the end of the audio, because that's how they sync. And there we go. I just, in a couple of seconds, synced my video clip to a Dolby Atmos master file. There it is. And as you can see, it just looks like a clip in the timeline because I'm on the edit page. I don't see anything special. There's nothing that lets me know really that this is a Dolby Atmos master, except if I look over here at the end of the clip where it shows the channel configuration, it's going to show me it's a 714, which is a Dolby Atmos master, or that's a Dolby Atmos format. And there you can see it shows me it's 714 if I hover over that. And so what you can see is that these are in sync. Now, a couple other things I'll just show you, because I synced with my eyes because I know how these line up. But here's my 2-pop. I just zoomed in, there's the 2-pop. And if I move 2 seconds to the right, shift right arrow twice, I can see that I'm at my first frame of video. So there you have it. So this is how you can line them up. You can play it. So if you ever just need to sync some things to work with them, here it is. Okay, now it might be that you need to then make different versions of this, or you want to see more than just this one clip in the timeline. Well, then let's go over to the Fairlight page. So I'm going to have us leave the edit page, and to get to audio post, you click one button at the bottom. Now I'm in Fairlight. I can extend this track. It's the exact same track that was on the other page. It's just now I can see it here. This is more audio centric, right? This is my DAW. And here you'll have a mixer on the right. Now my mixer is not going to have a lot in it because there's one track and one output at the moment. And if you look, this is the 714 audio file as well as the synced video. And you can see this Dolby badge right there. And what that means is this is a master file. This is just, it's basically being generated through or rendered through the Dolby Atmos renderer internally within DaVinci Resolve. So you don't even need the external, the secondary software, or you don't need the production suite. You can do that right here. It's exact same render, it's just being done internally. Now, I don't happen to have a 714 setup right now. And if I wanted to listen to this, I could always change the channel format anytime, and it's still going to access all of the information, and it will give me a down mix, or will give me a different version to listen to, but it's all going to be determined through the Dolby Atmos renderer. So in this case, what I really need is, because this is all about localization, is I need a stereo down mix and I need a 5.1 down mix that I can send to the folks who are doing the dubbing. They need a 5.1 so that they can turn on and off that center channel. And also I need to be able to do my subtitles and the description. All we need is a stereo mix. So how do I do that? Well, it's more than easy. I'm just going to show you right now. First, let's go ahead and turn this into a 5.1 just to show you how easily I can do that. I'm just going to right click on the clip, go down to clip attributes, and right here in clip attributes, I can change the format. So instead of a Dolby Atmos 714, I'm going to make it a 5.1, and not a Dolby Atmos 514, just a channel-based flat 5.1, okay? Surround sound is still cool, right? And that's what some people can listen to. This is what I need as an asset to be able to, again, get this globalization going, get this localization process moving. And so there I have it. I've selected it. Notice that it changed the number of channels in my track. I need to match the track now. So I'll come over to the channel, and the track header, and change that track to right there, 5.1, and I want 5.1. Let me do that one more time. 5.1, just plain 5.1, not 5.1 SMPTE, because I want to make sure that the center channel is my dialogue in this case. There we go. Now, before I bounce this, I'm going to come over here to my media pool, and remember all of those bins. Part of my job here is I'm trying to also organize this, because DaVinci Resolve has a really awesome collaboration platform. So anybody, and now the collaboration used to only work with Studio, but now it also works in the free version as well. So that means that someone else in my facility, someone else on my network here, can also be working on the same project at the same time. So even though maybe we have different stages, maybe there's different setups, and someone can be sitting in another room, or another place in the house, or wherever we happen to be, doing the closed captioning, sitting and writing out the captions, or changing the translation, or doing any of that. And they can come in and fish through these files as long as I put them in some place that they can find them. So that's always half the fun, right? So one of the bins I have here is down mixes for localization. So I'll just select that down mixes bin. Now, what happens if I hadn't? Well, then it would have just it would have dumped my down mix wherever I happen to be selected, and I could have just moved the file later, but I thought it'd be nice to look organized at this moment. So there we go, I've selected that. Now, if I want to bounce this, I just have to mark this clip first. It's the big thing. And so to mark it, I can do that several different ways. I'll just select it with my range selection tool, which will automatically mark the in and out points. Okay, and then once I've done that, I'll just switch back to my arrow tool. And I didn't have to, just makes it easier to look at. And then keep in mind, this is still a Dolby Atmos master. And so I'm going to go up to the timeline menu, and I'm just going to say bounce selected track to a new layer. And so what it's going to do is that's all going to be done through the renderer. And if I just click that, it's going to start, and it's basically going to bounce this. So it's going to turn this into an actual 5.1 file based on all of the information in the Dolby Atmos master. So it's pretty cool. And it'll sound exactly the same as if I were playing this right now. So almost done. You'll notice it'll show up in that bin. And then this way I have a file that someone could play on that doesn't have to have the studio version either. I could just send this anywhere, or they could collaborate and just take that from this bin. So it would be very easy. And there's a lot of different ways I could share it as well. So just point that out, almost done. And that will be the first file that I'm going to make. But the other thing that I really need, so there's my first bounced file. Now, before I do anything else with this, something else that I have to think about is, I want to change the name as well. Now, I know some of you are like, whoa, we don't change file names. Has anyone been through that nightmare where an assistant went down at the file level on a project and started renaming things and then nothing synced. And it was just, yeah, I'm sure that's never happened to you. Hopefully if it did, only once. So in Resolve, we don't actually change the name of files. What we do is we give them nicknames. And so what I'll show you is right here, I'll change this to the list view. And if you look, see right there where it says clip name? Well, with the clip name, what that means is instead of using this long name, which is FL for Fairlight, bounce, and the date, and so on, what it will do is I can give it a nickname. And in this case, I'd really like to call this something better like, let's see, this is English, right? So I'm gonna have to be caps. English 5-1 down mix. How nice, right? Very original. But there it is. Now it has a name that if someone needs to go fishing through there, they'll actually know what it is. And if you look, there it is, English 5-1 down mix. Now, of course, the clip in the timeline, that bounce clip is still got the same name because it's looking at file names right now. I can change that. Just go up to the Fairlight menu, view clip info display, and right here I can change it from file name to clip name. And as soon as I do that, you'll notice that now it's showing me my new bounced name. Isn't that nice? So, and I can actually take this one step further. Let's say someone is not working with me collaboratively and I just need to get this down mix out so that I can share it with someone, right? I need to be able to send this out and someone's waiting and they've sent me 15 emails already. It's like, yes, it's coming. So how do I send this out of my project? Very easily, just right click on that bounce file. And all you do is go to the new choice, which is bounce clip to files. And as soon as I do that, it gives me this window, which allows me to use the clip name. There you go. And I can save it wherever I want to. And I'm going to make a new folder just for this example. And we will make it on the desktop, new folder, and this will be down mixes for team. Sounds great, right? All right, so, and that's where it's going to go. So I'm now going to bounce it. I don't need to add any tags, but I could. It's going to be multi-channel, so it'll be one clip. I could also send it out as all mono files. That's not my plan right now. And that's it. I'm just going to click bounce and it will be done. So that file that we just made from a Dolby Atmos master now lives in this down mixes for team. Awesome, right? Now, some of you are probably like, yeah, you say it's good, but how do we know it's good? Good question. Let's I'm going to tighten this up and I'm going to actually pull it off of, it's sitting on top right now of my Dolby Atmos master. In fact, I'll just pull it off of there and you'll see that it just went to a layer above the original. So here is my down mix. Here is the original. And I could even run analysis on this right now just to see if that mix is up to snuff. So why not? Let's check it. Let's go over here and go to, if I right click on it, analyze audio levels. This is something new in DaVinci Resolve 17. And this will let you choose a loudness standard. So you can choose for your region, and we have quite a few here. There's even a Netflix standard now. So if I choose loudness standard for Netflix, it also has dialogue intelligence, which is pretty nice, right? So the dialogue intelligence, if you're less than 15% dialogue, it's going to do it non-gated for dialogue. If it has more than 15% dialogue, then it's obviously going to use it gated for dialogue. And that way you'll get a true reading. And so if you click analyze, let's just see what we got. I know you guys keep watching these little things tick by, but hopefully you see how easily I can do this. And this is very valuable too, because it just gives me the opportunity to check this out and say, yep, it meets the specs. It was 45% dialogue and the true peak was, it's a little hair on the low side, but that's okay because that way I know that I can always bring it up later if I wanted to, but I know this would pass the QC. So that's what I care about, right? Everyone cares about QC. So that was my first down mix. Let's do one more. I want to do a stereo down mix as well. So I'm just going to right click and I'm going to change the clip attributes again. Now, another way I could do it is I could just make a stereo output and then just bounce the mix from that output in, but I'll do the same thing I did before because it's so easy. There, I changed this to stereo, but I also need to change the clip. Let's see, I just changed that to stereo. Yes. And then I need to change the clip to stereo, the track to stereo as well. There we go. Done. And so it looks like it's stereo. Let's see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and bounce this one as well. We'll just go back up, select the track, timeline, bounce selected track to new layer. And this one should go pretty fast. When we're done, I should have a stereo down mix that then we can use, and we'll send it over and make a couple subtitles, and we'll also use it for our ADR if we want to. So I'll just show you how both of those tools work. This is all about the globalization. And remember, all of these things that I'm doing right now all came from just that one Dolby Atmos master file, right? Even though I never did anything with it. I didn't open up a mix. I don't have a session going. I'm not juggling a whole bunch of materials here. I just have that one file plus the video. So here it is. Here's my mix. Looks awesome. Let's rename it. English 5, nope, not 5.1, stereo. There you go, down mix. Awesome, right? Okay, so I have both of those done, and I can just drag this off of here if I want to into its own stereo track. If I so desire to, I can also delete those because I have them over here. Let's also send that one, bounce that one out as well. Bounce clip to files. I can do that really fast. Clip name, yes, go. And now I should have a stereo down mix for the team. There it is. I have both. So if I have another part of my team that needs this, if I'm the one managing the globalization or the localization, and I need to get this to the people that are demanding it, there, I did it. And you can do this in minutes, not hours and days and everything else. So very, very easy. And this did not require a very expensive room to do, right? I did all this on my iMac while doing a Zoom demo. So how about that? Okay, so now let's see what we can actually do with this. I mean, this is only this exciting, right? So let's take it a little bit further. I have my down mixes for localization. I now want to, we're going to make a timeline from these down mixes. So let's start with the English stereo down mix. I'm just going to right click on that and say new timeline using that clip. Okay, now, honestly, if I was sending this out to someone who was doing subtitles, I probably would just make them the timeline ahead of time. If hopefully they're using Resolve for this, so we kind of keep everything in the house, but you know, whatever, we can make it work. So this will be English subtitles, yay. Okay. There's English subtitles. So where do I want this timeline to be though? I don't want this timeline in my down mixes. I want it in here with my subtitles. So I'm going to drop it over here. Could I have done that ahead of time? Sure. Okay, so here's my English subtitles timeline. Let's go back to the edit page because subtitles are actually an edit page kind of thing. So you're probably wondering, wait, what happened? Yeah. Subtitles are picture and sound and titles. So we're going to do that here. And we have full titling capabilities. So you can have scrolling text that you can use as prompts if you want to, and so on. In this case, what I need to do is go get the video. So I'm going to go to the original master media, grab that picture, stick it on there real quick, and done. So, okay, we're back to where we started, only we're using a down mix. So this is someone who could be working on their laptop or sitting in the room, or it could be, you know, anybody who you can push this off to and say, hey, do you mind setting up some either subtitles or ADR cues or go through the script and help me get this going? That's how you can do it. They don't need much to be able to run this little timeline here. And so what can I do to make this even easier though for work? And I will say that it would be really nice if we could actually see the different cuts, right? If we had this as if it were separate clips, it makes it so much easier to kind of pace out your titling and your also, whether it's dubbing or anything else, it's always nice to see those cuts. This is Resolve. People do a lot of conforming and other things in Resolve. So we can do that right here. All I have to do is select that clip. I'm going to go up to the timeline menu, and all I have to do is have it choose, where is it? My detect scene cuts. There it is, detect scene cuts. This will take a few seconds, not minutes. And what it's going to do is analyze this, because this is something that colorists use when they're conforming, right? Or finishing editors or whoever needs to conform. Yeah, that's old school, right? Conforming. You know, working in Resolve is conformless, which makes it really nice, although it'll be a long time probably before everybody is doing their entire shows front to back in Resolve, but you never know. Here we go. It's doing this scene detection. And when it's done, there will be cuts where the scenes are, and we'll be able to use those for subtitles. And like I said, you can use those for pretty much anything. It's pretty quick. And here we go. And as you can see, there's all my different shots. Pretty nice, right? So I talked about subtitles. Let's do that real fast. I'm going to, before I do anything else, I want to change this. I'm not actually bringing in new media, so I don't need 2 viewers. I'm just going to switch to this to single viewer mode so I can see more. And then I'm going to go towards the beginning of this show. Now this is a short, one of the Dolby ATMOS shorts that is used for training and things like that. I get kind of a kick out of it. It's pretty funny if you get a chance to watch it in whole at some point. But for now, we're just going to use it to throw in a few captions, and I'll show you how easy that is. Now, I'm not going to do the translations in all the other languages, but obviously you would figure that out as you go. One of the things I need to do here is, now that I have this set up, is I just want to show you where our titles are. Over here in the effects library, you just go to the title section and scroll down. I can also hide my media pool, and you can scroll down. You'll see down here at the bottom is something called subtitle. If I grab a subtitle, and these are all different kinds of 3D titles. We have lots of pre-made Fusion titles that you can use. We have plain text as well. But the subtitle is all by itself. And if I grab one of those and I drag it up here, just above my video track, you notice it automatically made a subtitle track 1. Now, instead of doing it that way, which I could, I'm going to hide this. And instead, I will just right click in this gray area up at the top, and I will make a subtitle track that way. Works either way, right? And so now I have a subtitle track. Now, once you have a subtitle track, you can make subtitles, or you can import subtitles as well. So I'm going to go to the inspector, because once I make a title, it will automatically show up here. I'm going to select my subtitle track, and it immediately changes over to the subtitles, video subtitles for captioning. So pretty nice. And then a couple things. I like big waveforms myself. I don't need to see a lot of the video clips. I'm going to make this a little bit larger, right? Not too, I don't want to make it too big, but I can also zoom in if I want to make it larger. Why do we want the waveform to show? So that I can see where they talk, right? Even though this is stereo, I can still see right here is where he says his first line. Not much of a line. It's Cassandra. He says Cassandra. So easy. I just want to make a subtitle right here. So I'll hit create caption. It automatically will make a caption of a predetermined length. Now you're probably going, oh great, predetermined length. I knew there was a catch. Well, that's not a bad catch. Follow me. We're going to go down to the bottom right corner, and you'll see that there is project settings there. And if you click on the project settings, there is a subtitles panel. And if you click on that, you'll see the options that you have. And I'll zoom in here a little bit. Maximum characters per line, 60. This is just the default. You can change it. Maximum captions duration, 3 per second. And maximum characters per second is 30. Now, again, any of those you can change. Now you know where to change it. And the most important part is once you have it running, and I'll show you that right now. I'll just leave the defaults. Is if I exceed any of those parameters, it will give me a warning. So you'll see the CPS captions per second will turn red to let you know your caption's too short or it's too wordy or something like that. So I've got my default 3-second caption. It's a little longer than I need, and I can trim this just like I would any other clip. If I want to fill it out, I just select it and write in, this is Cassandra. He says Cassandra. That's great. Guess what the second line is? Cassandra. Guess. Okay, it's Cassandra. Cassandra. Again, you can kind of see the waveform's the same. So guess what? I could treat this just like a clip too, and I could just copy it, option drag, or copy it over. Cassandra. All right, 2 captions down, a few more to go. So like I said, just showing you that you can easily go through here and set up these captions. You can also, when you make your captions, you can make some choices too. If you look, you can have multiple subtitle tracks as well. So you can have all the different languages stacked right on top of each other. You would only see one at a time. You can also output those by just right clicking or on there and say export subtitle, and it will export that title out for you. And you can import them in as well. And it just so happens that I already made the titles for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to import those in real quickly. And I'll do that in the media pool. So let's go to subtitles, and I'm just going to right click and say import subtitle. And I made these last night. So here we go. they're inside the additional files. And here it is. I have two different flavors, right? I have my web VTT and my SRTs. So I'll just pick both. There's the first one. And let's get the second one as well. Good. They look the same. They're going to act the same, but just showing you, you can have both. And then once I have it, I just want to line it up with wherever the first word should go. And as you can see, I now have this fully captioned, right? You only see one caption track at a time. So if you have different languages, you have to pick which one. I can actually delete the one I started there. Now I have one, and I'll just bring in a second one so you can see. We can have multiples, you can have change their colors and so on. So you can make it really easy to know which is which. And by the way, once you have these captions, then if someone's going in there and changing the language, it makes it much easier, right? Because the work has already been done. You're just going in there and changing what they say. If you have that already translated, then this is pretty easy work. So that is one of the things you can do with the titling. You can also, when you export your project, you can choose to include the subtitles in many different ways. You can burn them in, you can have them as a separate file, and so on. So just letting you know, lots of choices there. So that was the subtitles. Now let's look at dubbing, because dubbing's a little bit different, right? Let's hop back over to Fairlight for dubbing. And if we're going to do some dubbing, I think the best way to do that is going to be with our 5.1. So let's go over here and back into our down mixes, and let's just use the 5.1 down mix. Now I could use my entire mix if I wanted to. And yes, I could use the Dolby ATMOS master. Just want to point this out because all of our ADR tools work in the free version as well. So you can have somebody in a smaller room doing dubbing while your big stage is being used for mixing. And then you can, incorporate the different elements at any time. So I'm going to use that down mix and just make a new timeline from that. I'll call this ADR. Actually, but I'll be using the A to make it happen. Here's the audio. Let's go get the video. You already know where it is. And again, I just keep grabbing this. Now you'll notice that I really wanted to sync this, but I can't see the video. By default, on the Fairlight page, you don't see the video files without audio, unless you click this one button right here. This options menu. 3 dots means, oh yeah, there's more, or it's the options menu. And so if you click on that, one of the options is to show all clips, and that would include video. So I can grab this and look at that. I can sync it right here in the Fairlight page. Pretty nice, right? If you want to check your sync, you can always go back to the edit page. Looks good. So we are all set. Let's see how we could do some dubbing with this. Now, one of the things, if I was doing this for ADR, I wanted this so I would have the option to turn on or off my center channel for dialogue. And I could do that right here within the clip, but I think I'd rather split these off instead of it being one 5.1 clip. I think I'd like to split it out so then I have more access to the other channels. So I'm just going to right click and choose convert to linked group. And when I do that, it just turned that 5.1 clip into separate mono clips, right? That whole track, it just broke it into separate tracks. Now it still has a single fader in the mixer, but I can change that at any time and break that into separate mono tracks. All I have to do is go up here to the Fairlight menu, link group, and just unlink it. And there you go. So you could use that same thing as if you had separate mono files from another system and you wanted to link them together to make them play through one fader. That's how you would do it. In this case, I now have separate mono tracks, including, as you can see, I have unlinked those. I now have, they're all separate here. And I have the ability now I can mute or solo the individual tracks if I wanted to. At this moment, I'll just leave them as is. Okay. And let's look at our ADR tools. So I'm going to come over here to our ADR tool set. ADR is where you can do, like I said, it's great for Foley if you have to add in additional sounds as you're building up a mix because you didn't have a lot to work with in your localization. It's awesome for setting up cues to, like I said, for dubbing. It's also great if you're doing audio description. Now, obviously, there's a lot of different ways you can record that audio description or set up your timing, but the big one is where do you record it in? And you would be doing the recording here on the Fairlight page. So let's go in, and now that I have this set, I just want to point something out. I'm going back into my additional files. I just want to point something out. When you're working with your cues, it's really just a CSV file. So if you have the script and you have someone who wants to make this at some point, wants to make ADR cues outside, or if you want to make them inside of DaVinci Resolve and then send them out so that someone could bring it into another project, it's very fluid that way. And you could do that right here. This is what the file looks like that I'm going to bring in. So just, it's got the time code, what the character is, and what they're saying. I'm going to go ahead and close that. Just pointing that out for just a few minutes from now. And if I wanted to, don't go there. If I wanted to go start with my ADR, I would go over here to the setup. That's the first place where you need to begin. Also, I need a couple of tracks for recording. Right now, all I have is the things that were already recorded. So I'm going to add some tracks. I'm going to add 3. Let's do 3 tracks of mono tracks, and I want them below the last track. There we go. Done. So the reason I wanted 3 tracks is so that I can, there you go, 1, 2, and 3. I wanted that, so 1 for each character, plus I need 1 for the beeps. I want to be able to hear the tone or the beeps to cue the talent. So right here, this first one will be Chad. He's the first one who speaks. We'll give him the first line. Chad, ADR. And then all I have to do is hit the tab key, and that will take me into the entry for the next one, which will be Cassandra, ADR, and then the last one will be my beep. Okay, done. Now I don't have to patch the first 2 because those I can patch within the within the ADR set. So instead, I'm just going to patch the beeps just to show you how easy it is to patch a track. I'm going to select it just so it shows up in the automatically open up my patch input output window. You can also get there through the Fairlight menu. So my input right now, it's showing my microphone here. So I'm going to choose this microphone. Actually, why would I patch this microphone? This I want to patch for the ADR. What I want to patch for the beeps is going to be our system generator right here. So you can patch buses to tracks, tracks to buses, buses to buses. There's all kinds of patching you can do without having to go into the patch input output. Bus to track, you would go through here. But in this case, what I'm sending is the system generator, and I want to use the beeps, okay, which are really only for the ADR cues. We also have an oscillator where you can record some sounds. We have noise for doing white or pink noise, and we have time code if you need to connect that for using other hardware remotely, or to talk to, let's say, the Dolby ATMOS renderer through the production suite. In this case, I just want my beeps. I've selected both, and I click patch. Done. Now my beeps will work. I'm going to go back over here and point out one more thing in the path settings. If you're doing beeps like this, you do need to set it to through mode. This would be the same as if you're doing talkback. By leaving it in through mode, that means it's an open mic. It's just not, the talk button isn't pushed, right? And so the beep isn't actually beeping at this moment, only when needed. You could also click record, which arms a track, but that's different, and that's not what we need here. So again, you can have one or the other. I'm going to set it to through mode. Okay, there, it's in through mode, and close that up. All right, so the beeps are ready. Let's come over here and see what I'm talking about. If I wanted to set a couple of cues right here, there's pre-roll. I want a 6-second pre-roll. I want 2 or 3 seconds after my cues. And right here, I have to choose record tracks. Well, let's record to the Cassandra track. So I'm just going to say, Cassandra, I can choose which track. And as soon as I choose a track to record to, it gives me a choice of my recording source. So I'll come over here and choose my Scarlett solo here, which is my mic. And of course, I'll mute that track. Isn't that fun? All right. But I was able to patch my track without having to go into anything else. So there it is. It's already armed, patched, and ready to go. The guide track we're going to use is track 3 because that's the one that has dialogue in it. Now I'm treating this like ADR, as I said, but if you were doing dubbing, you would just set longer cues, right? And you would have, they would be looking at a different script, but are they listening to the other voices, or are they just looking at waveforms? If they're just looking at waveforms that are muted, then having those in the timeline like this is still useful, right? If you're trying to match lip movements and things like that. So, all right. I don't need to change the name. I do need to create a couple of characters. We have Chad and we have Cassandra, right? All right. Now, real quickly, there's things you can turn on and off within the ADR setup. So we have our beeps, which will beep to the endpoint. You can even change their frequency and how loud they are. I won't have you do that now. We can, and we also have a beep at the endpoint. So we'll have a 3, 2, 1, 3 beeps, and then the go will be a slightly different pitch, a little bit different in volume level, and that will let the talent know. And of course, if you have talent that hates beeps, which I've met, you can just turn it off as well. We have a count in. I'll go ahead and turn that on. The count in is only a 3 count, but you can also make that longer, longer, so you have choices. 3 is enough. Video streamer is red and green. You could change it, but I'm just going to leave it as it is. You also have your text, the size of your text. Right now it's set pretty small. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So nice and big to see. I'm going with like a 55 or something. You can change the font. You can change how big it is. I think it really depends on the relationship of how close the talent is to the screen and how big the screen is, right? So there it is. And you can change other things about the text as well. And then we have a smart timeline, which will do some zooming for you, automatically zoom from cue to cue, which is nice. And then the last one is your mixing controls. If you have a talk back and you're working in a studio setup and you need to be able to change certain controls between rehearsal, playback, and record, you can get in there and do that. We're not doing that today. All right, let's go to our list. I want to make a cue. How do I do that? Very, very easily. I don't need my mixer right now. In fact, I can hide the mixer too, but in this case, I'll just move it over. And notice I've got my video up here that I can see. And all I have to do to make a cue is actually find a place where I want to do the first cue, right? I can, let's make it so we can see the dialogue. That'll help. And zoom in a little bit more. And this is going to be the same as what we had for the subtitles. In fact, a nice cheat is if you take the subtitles and stick them on top as you're making these cues, because then you can kind of see what all the title is if you happen to have them. In this case, I'm just looking at his first cue. There you go. There's an in and an out, new cue. All I have to do is choose which character and what did they say? There it is, Cassandra. That's it. I can go down a little further and find something more interesting. Let's see. What's this? This is a good spot.
Chad, we've been over this. I'm not into you.
Okay, that's pretty funny. Let's do that. Okay. Chad, we've been over this. I'm not into you. And notice I soloed it because the other tracks were kind of annoying me at that moment. Mark your in, I for in, mark your out, set your cue. That was Cassandra, and I can do her line. Chad, we've been over this. Helps if I look. I'm not into you. Ah, that's cold, right? Okay, there you go. All right, so we've set 2 cues. Now that's not the most exciting thing in the world, but just showing you that you could go through there, you could set the cues, you can sort by cues. In fact, you can import that cue list that I already made, and I can export this. So again, workflow wise, if you've got people out there with time on their hands that you want to start delegating stuff to, someone can be sitting on a laptop with just a video clip and a stereo file and making your cues, and all they have to do is export that cue list just like this. In this case, I'm going to import the cue list, but the one that you see sitting here came from this system. I just exported it last night. So I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to grab those additional files, and there is my CSV file, comma separated variable file, and open. When I do that, it gives you the chance to double check and make sure that everything is in the right category, because yep, sometimes people make mistakes. So you can make sure it is, and then import. Done. There's all my cues, just like that. Finished. In fact, let's record one, right? I've shown you all the other stuff. I'm going to record this real quick, and then I'm going to go back in and show you more with the Dolby Atmos and the output. So because this is localization, I think it's really important to know that we have these tools and how they work. So let's go over to record. Now, one of the things you can also do is just by pressing the P shortcut key right there, you can see that my cues show up right there on screen, and I can make my screen full size. So I could watch it in full screen if I wanted to. I could also break this out or put it onto another monitor, and a lot of things I can do with my screen. In this case, I want to go with the, where is that, Chad? We've been over this. I'm not into you. Let's do this one. This looks like fun. So if I was going to rehearse this, all I have to do is select the cue and click the rehearse button, and I will go full screen so you can see it.
Crazy. The prom king falling head over heels for you. The nerdy tomboy.
Chad,
Now, for some reason, I did not hear my beeps. Oh, because duh, it's always something, right? I soloed this track, and by soloing this, I've also soloed those beeps. Let's do it again.
Crazy. The prom king falling head over heels for you. The nerdy tomboy who.
Dad, we've been over this. I'm not
I'm not
into
into
you.
you.
How sad. Okay, let's record one just so I can show it to you. I'm going to hit record.
Crazy. The prom king falling head over heels for you. The nerdy tomboy who.
Dad, we've been over this.
this.
I'm not into you. Okay, that was pretty bad, but I did record it and it's in the timeline. Let's try another one. I just want to have two, so I have two takes. So one more time.
Crazy. The prom king falling head over heels for you. The nerdy tomboy who.
Dad, we've been over this. I'm not into you. Okay. And I'm obviously not very good at this kind of ADR. However, let me just show you. Now that we've done that, let's do something else with it. So here's my two takes. Now watch this. If I wanted to listen to my different takes, you can choose which take. Just select one. Let's select take one, and I hit this play. Sorry, a sneeze is coming, but if I hit play, it will play just that take. Now watch the take in the timeline real quick. Watch it, and I hit take two, and it will switch which one I see depending on which one I have selected. So that's pretty awesome. When I go to play it, it will play one or the other. And then also, this is where you can see if I go to the view menu, show audio track layers, you'll see that we have these layers in here. There they are. And these are my two different takes. One, the higher one is the last one that I did. The first one I recorded is down below. So that's all great. Let's show you something else. You know, when I have these different takes, I'll hide those later. Let's say this is the second take and this is the one that I want to use. Now, all of these, the list and the stars and all of that ability to switch between those is great until you stop your session. Once you're done with your session, then you'll still have all the takes in the timeline. You'll still have all the media and it recorded to whatever bin you happen to have selected. In this case, I had original masters, which I shouldn't have put it there. It should be in the dubs, but it just records them straight into whatever bin you have selected at that time. Also goes on to your system as well. Let's go back. The big thing I want to show you is, let's just go ahead and close up my ADR tools. And let's say I now need to finesse the timing. I want to make sure that this actually works with the lip sync. And whether you're doing dubbing or audio description or ADR, being able to finesse the timing of the clips is a really big deal. Now I'm going to change the color of this just so it sticks out, right? But this is kind of, it all comes down to matching whatever the other one was. Now I am showing this track right here, so you can really kind of see the two next to each other, right? The waveforms, they're similar. I can even make this a little louder just so that I can compare them. And I can see that the timing's off already. I'm just going to scoot it over a little bit. And I can see that there is no way I'm going to make this fit perfectly because they just don't match up. So we can use something called elastic wave. Just right click on that clip and go to, everything's a right click, right? Go to elastic wave. And when I do that, we now have elastic wave retiming. And what that will do is just hover your mouse over the right side of the clip and you'll get this different icon. And what that'll do is allow you to stretch it. So I can make it longer or shorter, so I can adjust the timing a bit. As you can see, it's a little springy, but it does not change the pitch. So if I were to solo that, I'm gonna disarm that track. Chad, we've been over this. Notice it didn't change the pitch. I wish it had. We've been over this. Okay, so it's, I had no attitude in that, obviously. But so I can adjust the timing to a certain extent just by stretching it. Again, for audio description, that's huge, right? And for dubbing as well. But you can also get in there and just command click and set time markers so that you can massage the audio as well. It looks like the first part lines up pretty good. The second part needs some help, perhaps. And then the last bit, I want to get that lined up, the consonant sounds better. And let's just see. We've been over this. Right. So you get the idea, right? You would want to hear it with the other one. And Chad, we've been over this. Okay, I can't listen to that anymore. But you saw me do it, right? We got there. So that was Elastic Wave. Again, if you're not sure where something is, right click or check the manual, because we do actually have all that stuff in our nearly 4,000 page manual, but it's searchable and easy to find, and you can get to that manual right here. DaVinci Resolve Reference Manual. All right, enough of this. Let's go and look at a little bit more with Dolby Atmos. So what I want to do is I'm going to have us jump into actually a different project for now, because it's one that's a little further along. So I'm going to, I'll save this and jump in here. And I realize that I'm out of time. So for the next 5 minutes, exciting minutes, just stick with me if you can. I hope you can stick around for a couple more minutes, because I just want to show you a couple more things that we can do with the Dolby Atmos files, because as you saw, all those assets, all that things I was doing was based on submixes or down mixes that I made very easily right from the original file, right? Well, here I have a timeline. This has 6 different Dolby Atmos files. These are all the broadcast wave files. I have 2 of the English, I have 2 for the French, and I have 2 for Germany. And what I've done is I've split them off by, I'll just select this. They were just the 5.1 version, and all I did was muted the center channel on the ones that I didn't want to hear the dialogue, and I muted all the other channels on the ones that I didn't. So this is a way I could make stems that are the right channel width. If I needed to do a, let's say, 5.1 dialogue stem, this would probably work pretty well if I was in a pinch and had to do it really fast. But what's fun about this is I could then quickly listen to the different languages or mix and match these, because we have a different music piece, an alternate piece of music in the German version, and we have the 3 different languages. So just playing these back, this is English, wind up.
Okay.
They want a guy who has the guts to be himself.
Okay, let's go to the French. Wait.
Mais t'es déjà au sommet.
French,
Je suis une Atelier.
German.
Dans 10
In 120 Jahren werde ich 10-mal mehr verdienen als du. Du wirst im besten Fall mit.
Right? And I want to hear the alternate music, so I'll go with
Es gibt
that.
etwas, das du nicht über mich weißt, Cassandra.
So anyway, so that's one way that I can not only make the different stems I need, but I can also, like I said, mix and match, or as we're putting it together. Now, the last thing you're going to want to see is, how do you get in there? How do I recreate the entire mix so that I can actually take a new dub? Let's say I have a new dialogue bus that we've made, just like this, right? That we have a bed mix that I just created, and I want to be able to plug it into one of the other versions. How do we do that? It's very simple. When you're in Resolve, and let's just I'll just go the master level for this one. If I want to bring in another version, all I would have to do is, I don't even have to make the timeline. I just need to come over here to the Fairlight menu and say immersive audio. And this is where we have our immersive tools, and we want to import a master file. Now, it's not going to work if you just drag it in, but if I go to import master file and then click that, it will let me choose a master file. And at this point, the one I'm going to bring in, let's do the French version because we can. Let's go to, there's the media. There's my French version of the show. Let's just say open. Now it's going to go to the master level. And what you're going to see in just a second is it's going to, now I could have put this in its own folder if I was paying more attention, or its own bin, but it's going to recreate the mix, all of the automation, the levels, the content, the bed mixes, and all of the object tracks as well. And all of that will be in here in just a second. So again, if you get these files, it's very easy to open them up. And even if I had exported one of the 5.1 versions, it's still, the Dolby renderer will remember all the information and can recreate it just like I just did. So here we go. We now have the entire show. If only I had the audio, right? I'll go to the edit page for a second. If only I had the video to go with it, which is in my original masters. How many times can I sync the same clip in one demo? I think this many. Just checking my sync, it's off. There we go. Okay, back to Fairlight. So as you can see, it's also where it belongs in time code as well. So it's not only going to make the timeline, it's also going to put it where it belongs. Same thing happens if you were to import an AAF, you would get all of that media as well. So let's look at this really quickly. You have our bed mixes. Notice that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different bed mixes. You have tracks to go with those and buses. You know, your busing is right there. And you also have your VCA groups as well. All of this was created automatically. And we also have, let me show you, play a little bit of this, hiding the media pool. If you look at the panners, I'm just going to mute this for a second. If you look at the panners, you'll see they're actually moving around because all that panning metadata is in there. All of that automation is included. In fact, the automation tools are turned on when you do this. I'm just going to show the automation curves for a few of these tracks so you can see. Here's the pan curve. There's a left-right pan. Wow. And here's another left-right pan. So you can see there's several pan tracks and you can also see them moving. I can double click any pan window and I will see, you know, that particular track's pan curve as we come across it. Let's see, this one will be moving around. There it goes. Also, we have a full panner as well, just in case you're curious. We have in our immersive tools, we have our space view scope, which lets you see all of your bed. The purple is going to be your bed mixes. We also have our flying objects, you know, up to 118 in a Dolby Atmos project. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of movement going on. You could solo tracks. If you only want to see those objects, you can change the colors, but this gives you an idea of that relationship as you're mixing. And you can do all of your mixing yourself. If you happen to look at our mixer, you know, for those of you, if you do record your dubbing right here in the Fairlight page, you don't necessarily have to send anything out either. We have a full EQ on every single track's already built in. We have our dynamics built in that you can add your EQ, your expander, gate, compressor, limiter. We have, like I said, panning controls. We have the full automation so you can automate everything. There's even, as you can see on these particular files, that because we have the VCA groups, you can actually adjust the levels if needed on your different, even though there's automation on those, you can use the VCA groups to control them. So that's awesome, right? So that's the long, shortish version of it. I know Chris is like, gotta stop you, Mayor.
I do have to stop you only because there's a lot of questions. So
okay.
but, it really, really impressive and awesome. And, you know, it does so much for basically the price of a plugin for one of your competitors. So pretty incredible. I do want to get to everybody's questions.
Okay.
So I think the first one is from Lon, which says, what does the Atmos integration consist of? Hopefully that maybe was answered, but I don't know if there's any additional context you can say about what with the render and how it all works together.
Sure, there's more. I mean, the render is built in. Okay, yes, you can still run it in partnership. And this is DaVinci Resolve is licensed for Dolby Atmos home theater mixes and mastering. But if you have a Cinema Master, a licensed Cinema Master, you can still run it through here to do your packaging, make your IMF packages, and bring it out the other side, and that's perfectly fine. If you look over here on the right, when you have a fully, when you've done what I just did, where you import the master and you've reconstituted that mix, as you can see, you also now get different rendering options here. You can play it back, but I can listen to the down mixes right here during playback. So if I have different, a beat chain set up with a lot of different speaker arrays and things like that. So the integration's built there as well. And that can be while it's playing, I can switch it to 7.1, here's stereo, and so on. So you can do all that just to make sure that your monitoring levels and all that stuff is there. You can, so the integration is very deep at that level. And you also, under the immersive tools, you can even bring up the renderer settings. So if you've worked with the Dolby Atmos renderer, they have built in, you know, their logic and the way that their algorithms for doing the down mixes is very, very good. And a lot of people would just go with them as is. This is the exact same results as if you were running the down mixes through the Dolby Atmos renderer. So this is where you can make the same choices that you might do for doing your trims. If it's going from theatrical, from a huge room to, you know, a living room, you're going to want to dial that in a little bit. And so you can do all of that start here. So that's part of the integration. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Let me
Deliver
jump-
page. I know. I'm sorry. Last thing on the integration, since you asked, outputting it, because that's kind of the other thing is you can export the master file. So here I still have a master file, and I can send it right back out. I can export that as an ADM broadcast wave file or as an IMF IAB. So that's from the Fairlight page without even leaving. In the deliver page, you can also make those choices. And let's say you're doing an IMF package. We have a lot of different ways to export and package our materials, but you can do that right from here as well. So.
While we're on that topic,
Yes.
George Hart asked, can you export and import AAFs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I had let me see.
And I'll tell you what, for the sake of time, rather than
Yeah.
show it, Mary,
I'll just say yes. You can have it, and it'll just reconstitute
let's
itself.
leave it at yes, and he can look it up on how to do it or get in touch with us after.
Yes.
So Charles had a question about voice cue integration. Is there a voice cue integration? What does that look like?
That's a great question. I don't know that. That's on my list of things to take care of as soon as I get the book finished. I was like, I really want to, because I wanted to test it out. I know a lot of people use that. And obviously it's one of those situations where if that is the only way you work and that's the thing that makes you so efficient, obviously you don't want to let go of that tool. But there has to be ways, like I said, it's offloading a lot of the work to other people. And especially with the free version, so much of that, tedium, I shouldn't call it that, should I? The stuff that really, the things that take a lot of hours to do can all be done on any system. They don't necessarily require a lot of hardware. So
we'll get back to Charles on that. And then let's see, George Hart said, does it support non-Blackmagic mixing interfaces? Are you limited to interfaces, meaning is Avid hardware and various Dante interfaces supported?
I don't believe Dante, but I think it's the Mackie, and some Yukon. I think it depends on the interface. So, so we do have that listed somewhere. I'll see if I can find that reference and you can post it then.
Yeah, sounds good.
As a link. So
and then, Blake M had a question, said, for recording ADR dubbing, one of the challenges we face is editing the script cue list or translation during the session. Currently, if a director or editor wants to change the script, they either have to take over the mixer screen or have the mixer type the cue change. Is there a way to collaborate on the script without interrupting the mixer's session? If someone else is on the network, had the session open and changed the script cue list, would it update in the mixer session? I read that fast.
Sorry, my mic's still armed. Wow. Okay. That's an interesting question. I've not tried that. I mean, it's a collaborative workflow. So, like, I know you can sort by cues. You saw that you can import another list. So,
why don't we tell Blake? We'll get him an answer.
Yeah, we'll find. I mean, it's one of those things that there's everything that we have in here. Sorry.
Reverb.
My setup is making that mic live every time I switch it. So let me not make that mic.
We'll tell Blake. We'll get back to him on that. George has another question, which is, can you comp takes together?
Yes, of course. Comping takes, if you they record one on top of the other in the timeline, as I showed you, and you just dice them up. I mean, I constantly do that. So you cut them up 3-4 of the best takes, and you just kind of move them around in track layers. It's awesome. In fact, I use audio track layers just to be able to stack up different language versions, and I can swap it out anytime. And the stuff underneath, no one ever hears it or sees it, but I know it's,
it's there. Brian Kinworthy had a question, which is, he also said hi to me, but we know each other. And so he said that Blackmagic has plans. Does Blackmagic have plans to allow Resolve Studio versions to load on AWS EC2 without a dongle? He says he knows that it already works with EC2. Oh, wait, so I know it works on AWS EC2 with the free version. So I think maybe what he's asking, I'm not sure. I don't know if you can read that question, but do you know if Blackmagic has plans to allow Resolve Studio version to load on AWS EC2 without a dongle? I know it works on AWS EC2 with the free version. I'm not sure.
I think that's a little more specific than I know. I mean, I think I don't have that answer. I will say that customers are already test driving and trying things out in the cloud. I mean, it seems to be, it's new in the whole cloud-based workflows, and there are endless possibilities. And I think that that's just something that everybody's pretty excited about, and seeing where it goes and where we go and how everything's going to work together. But obviously, staying on the forefront and having the tools that everyone can use is a big deal. So
yeah. I just have two more questions, and then we're going to probably wrap it up. This one is from Ian Duncan. He talks about, basically, is the Atmos render the same as the one that's in the production suite and the RMU, meaning the reference fold downs and usable master renders? I think it is the answer, right?
it's the same as a production. Yes, it's the same. It's the same thing. Yes.
Yeah.
And even when I was changing the formats or just changing how I listen to it or doing the down mixes in the timeline, same thing. It's as if I was running it through there. So just much faster.
And by the way, Dave Hoffman just chimed in on I'm trying to keep track of two windows. He said that it looks like the cloud-based workflow question. The answer is that is in process to be supported. So hopefully that further answers Brian Kenworthy's question.
Great.
And then, and I know there was even some proof of concept recently through the HPA. So perhaps that's what he's referencing. And then the last question of the day will go to, I cannot pronounce this gentleman's name. I apologize, but it's the integration that he says the Dolby ATMOS integration is a great feature, but what limitation DaVinci Resolve 17 has in usual channel formats? I mean, I guess he's asking, can it do all of the big formats?
Well, let's take a look, shall we? I'll show you something real quick. I mean, we're talking about Dolby Atmos just because that's kind of exciting and our integration is so deep there. But if you look over here in the project settings on a new project, or if you have DaVinci Resolve Studio, we have RO 3D. In fact, let me check everything. Life is so much better when you just, so we have 22.2. Obviously we have SMPTE, MPEG-H, Dolby Atmos, and RO 3D, but that doesn't mean a whole lot unless I do it. I also want to point out that for those of you, if you have higher formats, in fact, this would be easier on a new project. Sorry, a new empty project, you have the ability to change a lot of other things. So it's going to the same exact location again, and I'm sorry if I'm going fast. Right here, you can also change the audio sample rate. So if you were in a situation where you have a project, you can now do 44.1, which we didn't before, but a lot of people are doing music masters and still use that in some level. We have 48, which is our default. We have 96 and then 192 as well. So if you change it to one of those formats, then you can you can be recording, editing, and outputting at that level if you're using Studio. So that's pretty awesome. And then as far as checking these boxes, the main reason you do that is so that, I'll just make a timeline. Then you can make tracks at any format. So I can add a track. And if you notice, you were asking about limitations. I can go anywhere from mono all the way up to 24 channels wide. So we have adaptive tracks. So we pretty much can handle anything, and they can be changed at any time. So at any time you can change your busing too. I'll go up to my buses. I can make a new bus or any bus, and I can change that to any of those different options as well. So it's very, very interchangeable. A lot of options. Hope that answered your question.
So we've kept most of the people, so that's
oh
good.
shoot. Sorry guys.
We lost a couple, but Mary, thanks so much for the time. I look forward to the book coming out. Really incredible tool, very powerful. And I hope people, download the free version, get their hands on it, play with it a little bit, and then pull the trigger on the full. It's a great product. As I said, it's actually what powers a lot of the work we do. This seminar will go into DaVinci Resolve this afternoon for trimming. So thank you all so much, and thank you Blackmagic for being a EGA sponsor and for sharing this information with all our members and guests.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Thank everybody for your patience too. So I knew that hour was going to be tight. So
All right,
Anyway,
90
thank
minutes
you.
next time. Take care. See you later.
Bye.